Hey, how's it going? My name is Matt King. I'm the one who created this Webinar Jam registration page. We designed this to work with a high ticket as a high ticket registration page. So this would lead into a webinar that uses Webinar Jam and it runs the webinar on the hour every hour, and then you would drive them to some kind of whatever your offer is. If your offer is a $2,000 product, you'd send them to wherever your order page is. I would recommend putting it right here in the same template or in the same funnel, but you can put it wherever you want. And that's pretty much it. It's real simple, very effective system for getting high ticket sales or pretty much any sales because all it is a registration page, and you can use that very universally. So if you guys are watching this video, you probably have either one bought this template and emailed me and had some questions, or you had some questions beforehand. So if you just bought it, thank you very much for picking this up, and you will probably find this webinar or this funnel inside of your shared funnels. But once you get here, I'm going to show you the inner workings of this funnel and show you a little bit about how this works. There are some pretty delicate inner workings, so we're going to go right into the editing process. All right, so in Webinar Jam, when you get your active link for the webinar that you want to use, click on that link, and then you'll see an embed code, which allows you to embed the button into this particular site. And you have to set that up in Webinar Jam in your registration pages and set up a custom registration page. So what you're going to do is this. All right, hold on, I got to go back here. Once you set up your custom domain, make sure that you grab this domain right here and you copy that URL right there. That's what you're going to put into Webinar Jam as your custom registration page. All right. Now, once you've done that, and then you go to get your active links, you can copy the embed code into this particular documents. We're going to go back into the editing process here, and I'll show you where that is. So the embed code is part HTML and part JavaScript. So the top element here is HTML. The bottom code element here is JavaScript. So what you're going to do is just copy the HTML part out, and then you're going to go to the code editor. You're going to add that in here. Now this is where the button text is, by the way. So right now it says claim my spot now. So if you wanted to say something else, this is where you would change that, okay? Let's go back. Here is where the JavaScript, it works exactly the same. Copy the JavaScript code into here. There's nothing here for you to edit, so just make sure you copy that in directly from Webinar Jam or from EverWebinar. Down here is the JavaScript and the HTML for the hourly countdown. Let's look at what that looks like. So here's what it would look like if somebody were viewing it, and it is an hourly webinar countdown. So every hour it's going to run the countdown to the top of the hour. ClickFunnels does not do this out of the box. Not yet, not as of the time that I'm recording this. So you've got to use this code that we had built. We paid a guy to custom code this for us so that we could put this in the marketplace for you guys. And the same thing with this over here. This will give you a little bit of custom code for this, and it'll always say what the current date is. That's all it does. So what you're going to do is change out your headline and put some new bullets in here. Change your picture. Maybe put a little bit about you. Change your name, because I'm guessing not everybody's named Billy Jim Bob Thornton, right? I just made that up, by the way. Change your bullets out here, and then put a couple testimonials in here. Also note down here is another button. So there's a button here and a smaller one down here. So we had to change the text on this. I'm going to show you where that is in just a second. All right, so don't mess with these ones here. Don't mess with this here. This is the delicate inner workings. If you mess with this stuff or change the code, and it messes it up, there's not really much I can do except for maybe give you the code back and say, here, put this back in. Down here, again, this code over here is the stuff not to mess with. This is the hourly countdown. This is the date over here. Over here on the right side is the HTML on top for the Webinar Jam code and the JavaScript down here. So if you want to change you want to change that text on the button, come here and change it out here. Now, one other thing I'm going to show you, you'll notice here that the button is yellow with black text. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to change that. The way it comes out of Webinar Jam, it's blue, but we've already put the CSS in here. That's some special coding to make. We had to put some custom coding in here to make this yellow with the text black so that it looked good, like it does right now. But here is where you would change that if you so desire to change the color of that text. You're going to come up here to Settings, come down here to Custom CSS, and then you're going to, you can see in the blue here, these are notes, and they say what all of the CSS does inside of this. So right here is the top one. It says changes basic Webinar Jam button properties to be yellow with no border and use black text inside the button. All right, tried to lay that out in black and white. So here would be your black background. This is the hex color code for that yellow goldish color. So you would just go Google your favorite color, find out what the hex code is. If you just want it to be something simple like red, you can literally just type red in there. Okay, it's going to be a generic version of red though. So if you want a very specific color shade, make sure you go get the hex code for that. Same thing with the border style. We took it out because it looked funny with the border that was in there, so we just took it out. And then the color of the text is a black text on the background. We thought that looked best as opposed to white. And of course, this is the same code down here, but it's for the button down at the bottom of the page. So let's look at this, make sure we covered everything. Make sure that you set up your integrations. So make sure you go here and you connect it with whatever autoresponder you are using. Do not select like EverWebinar. This is not where you're going to sign that up. That would be if you had a registration page and you wanted to register them directly for a webinar using this, but we have that code that we're putting in here for the button, so you do not need to use this. You can put them on whatever service you want. So if you have a list inside of Actionetics, you could link it up here. If you have a list that you want them to go on Aweber, you can put it here, and then just do a direct integration at that point. Say integrate existing form and then select which list it is that you want them to go on. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers that. Make sure that you go through and set here. Let me exit this real quick. I'm going to leave this and make sure that you go into your settings and you set all this stuff up to work with your domains. I've got a few in here. Just make sure that you select the ones that you want. Make sure that you group tag it the way that you want. The path. I mean, it doesn't need to be Webinar Jam registration hourly countdown. I just put that in there, but it could be registration or something, something simple so that you can write that out quickly when you're sending traffic here. Your favicon, you can put that in here. Whatever email, whatever internal email system you're using, we set up SendGrid to work with our system, and I do recommend that, especially if you're using ClickFunnels, which if you're downloading this, I would imagine that you're using ClickFunnels, and set up SendGrid. That way you can send out a few automated emails from inside the ClickFunnels environment. Guys, that's all I've got. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions about how this funnel works, please don't hesitate to give me a shout. Email me at kingmattj@hotmail.com. I'll help you out the best that we can. If you need some further customization options, we do offer that as an extra added service. So we'll help you out as best as we can. And we look forward to working with you, okay? Take it easy.